Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Landay. This is Show and Share from Trainer's Warehouse. And I'm joined today by Chris Bent, who is the founder of a company called Pickles, which is a platform for creating introductions and questions and bringing people together to enjoy each other and get to know each other online or in person. Um, Chris, we were just talking a little bit about unusual jobs, and so Chris, he left the sales world and a sales job to start Pickles, but right now he balances his life not just with creating this company and this great tool for all of us, but he's also a snowmaker at night. And
What
oh,
I
there,
love to
hold on. I have to pin that. I'm gonna remove my pin so that we can see that.
Yeah,
Hold on. There we go.
that's
Oh my
that's
God,
the
that's awesome.
that's the get up right there.
All right. So I'm not going to do much more introduction. Chris, I'm going to leave it for you to tell us about pickles. We're eager to hear.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sue, for having me, and excited to be here and meeting all of you. And so you might be wondering, pickles, this kid is way too young to have invented pickles. I was eating them before he was born. And that is true. In this case, pickles, it's spelled Piccles, which is not only how I could buy the domain name because everything cool was already taken, but in this case, pickles stands for a combination of pictures and pixels. So we put those two together and created this version of Pickles. And as Sue mentioned, I was in a soul-sucking corporate sales job. And before that, I was very entrepreneurial. I loved ideas, building businesses, creating. And in this sales job, I felt dead because all of that was gone and I was just reduced to metrics, logging everything in Salesforce, locking myself in a phone booth, leaving voicemails to people who did not want to hear my voice. And so I had this yearning to be more creative, to feel like I was expressing myself in my work. And so that kind of started me on this journey of like, how can I be more creative without being a creative or having that as something in my work? And I was like, all right, well, I just want to make this more accessible to everyone who might be feeling that they aren't living up to their creative potential. And I'll show you what Pickles originally started out as, but I want to show you what it is today. And I don't want to talk too much because this is also about you guys and experiencing. And so I am going to share my screen right now. And if
Great.
you all have a smartphone handy, that is fantastic because we're going to be using that to interact. If you don't, feel free to run and grab it. And if you don't want to do that even, I will put a link into the chat so you can just use your computer if you prefer that. So
Brilliant.
what you see on the screen right there is a QR code, and you can click on that. Well, point your camera at it. I think we're all pretty good at QR codes by now with all the menus that we've had to scan. But if not, you can just point it there, click on that little link that says app.pickles.com that drops down. And my question for you, as a little check-in to kick off today, is to draw your self-portrait and how you're feeling this afternoon. So again, you'll see on your screen when you open that a little white canvas. And you can use your finger. If you have a stylus, you can use that. And you can draw whatever you want in that space. Right below the canvas, above all of the different colors, you can drag that brush size selector to the left. It looks like this person has already figured out how to make it a little bit thinner, that line. Or if you want to drag it all the way to the right, you can do that so you can add some small little blue eyes in your drawing if you would like to do that as well. Um, so we kept the controls super basic because the goal isn't to make another Photoshop. This is about tapping into our creativity and giving people a way of expressing themselves in a way we often don't get to. Um, so yeah, I love this. We've we've got some people excited for the Super Bowl, perhaps around Philadelphia. or just bandwagon fans. I'm not sure. This is you, Josh?
Yeah,
Nice. Are you in Philly right now?
I am.
Very cool. I like it. Um, we've got someone perhaps in the Northeast. I'm looking for the headsets. I know Josh has one as well, but yeah, feeling that cold. Um, this is awesome. So we've got the excitement. We've got mostly happy. Um, Sue, what do you make of this? How do you think this person is feeling right here?
Hmm. I'm seeing a strawberry.
Yeah, I'm seeing this.
Which
Ladybug.
a
Ooh, chicken pox.
Chicken
ladybug.
pox.
Yeah. We also got Janet saying chicken pox. We've got someone
Oh,
Okay,
having.
somebody's sad.
Okay. Yeah. Um, yeah, feeling sad, maybe feeling anxious as well. I mean,
Oh no.
um, that's definitely understandable. Like if you're in the United States, if you're anywhere. And one of the things that I kind of
Snow.
like about
Okay.
yeah, snow, no. Um, yeah. So one of the things that I like about this is A, it allows for people to be expressive. Like I gave you a prompt, but obviously not all of you are following that prompt. And I think that is awesome. I love to see when people do what they want to do and not what I'm just kind of forcing you to do because this is really not about the sage on the stage. I consider myself more of a guide on the side when I use Pickles because it allows for everyone to kind of share the stage and get their expressions, get their ideas, get their thoughts, their feelings all in this one shared space where it's all right to share that you might be feeling bad, you might be sad. And sometimes it's easier to draw that than it is to like use an emoji or put it into words or anything like that. Because one of the things that I found, yeah, you might be bad at drawing. And that's why we created this platform is because, I mean, you're going to be bad at anything that you don't do. And that's another thing that we hope to do with this is to get people to challenge their limited beliefs because obviously you're going to be bad at drawing if you never draw. I'm bad at dunking a basketball because I've never dunked a basketball before. I've tried, but I haven't. And so what else might we be stopping ourselves from because we think, oh, well, I haven't done that, so I'm going to be bad at that, so I'm not going to do that because I'm this age and I'm expected to be this proficient at everything that I do. And I think that's just limiting. It doesn't have that childhood beginner's mindset of just diving into things, failing, and being all right with that. And so, just that's one thing that we hope to help bring to the trainings and the courses and the lessons that we do is like, hey, this isn't about right and wrong, good and bad, a good drawing and a bad drawing. Like, it's about expression. It is about everyone's unique voice, their piece coming together and kind of having an equal say. And
Chris,
so
can you also
I,
talk a little bit about kind of the brain science thinking behind integrating a drawing tool like this into your training?
yeah, absolutely. So it really taps into that right side of the brain versus the left side. There's like the creative, communication, musical side, and then there's the analytic numbers, like basically the chat GPT, all of the AI that is exploding onto the scene. That is for our left brain to be supercharged. But while that's happening, our right brain, it's not, we're almost outsourcing our creativity, our art creation, all of that to these systems and these models. And I just think that humans' ability of imagination and creativity is a true superpower. And when we get to exercise that, it taps into things that like like innovations that are far beyond what might have been an incremental improvement.
Mhm.
So it's really a way that not only when you're drawing, you're kind of expressing authentically because it's hard to lie when you're making something kind of unique. It's easier to lie when you're like writing text or you're thinking, how does my boss want me to be perceived in a way?
Mhm.
Um,
So
but it
how do
also
you
helps you.
see this? And I saw Carly also was adding, for visual thinking or, um, right. So kind of bringing all of right side, left side brain together, but also when you're drawing and doing something and trying to represent a concept, it becomes more memorable
Mhm.
because you're bringing in, you're drawing and you're not just listening or thinking or, like you said, you're not just interacting with technology, but you're actually doing something physical, which also helps memory. Um, how have you seen people using this for their training?
Yeah, so it really
And
kind
then we'll
of
get to
depends.
Nora's question. So yeah, everyone, please feel free to put questions into the chat and so forth.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of different ways, and I'm going to show you a different quick slideshow. So I mentioned earlier what Pickles originally began as, and that looked more like this. It was a collaborative coloring book where the whole idea was I can't make the Mona Lisa, but you give me a small enough piece, can't really mess that up so bad, and 100 other people who equally suck at drawing, and together we can make something that no one felt put on the spot for. And it didn't take a lot of time or effort to create. And together, you can make something that you can share with the world to kind of build that creative habit. And then we realized we could use it for all these other things, like asking questions and having people draw their answers. And so we've used it in person to spark conversations, to understand audiences, to have people visualize their kind of data. We've used it to break the ice, get people meeting each other. In this case, you couldn't look down and you had one brushstroke to draw your partner across from you. And so obviously, it's going to look ugly. It's not going to look exactly like them, but that's kind of the point. It's about creating and connecting. And the conversation that comes along with Pickles is a huge part of it, because we'll use it to have people interact in these kind of snackable, easy ways. And then that just leads to a conversation, a story, a discussion. So we'll use it at the beginning of an event to kind of get a consensus to see how everyone feels, how they think. But we'll also use it for training throughout, as you mentioned, Sue, to have visual thinking, to spark conversation, to kind of lead and let people have the floor as we highlight different drawings and kind of give that person a chance to explain it. So yeah, we'll use it all over the place, and then
But let me just ask you, you said to have people to highlight different people who've drawn something, to integrate that question or my question with Nora's, can the trainer see the names or do you click on it? Like how do you identify who's drawn what? Or is that
yeah,
you just not gotten to that yet?
yeah, no, that's a great question. So right now, Pickles is anonymous by default, and we did that to make it as frictionless as possible. So when you log in, it's not like put in your username and password and email and all of that. Like we want people just to engage and
Mhm.
have the experience. And so we can ask for people's email address after the fact, but usually I will just kind of like highlight different drawings like this, and I'm just double clicking on all of these, which any trainer here can do. Um, and then that kind of like, well, I kind of started talking about this, and then it's almost natural for whoever drew it to explain more details. Sometimes I'll even like purposely misunderstand a drawing, and then that person can correct me because people love to correct others. Um, and so it doesn't really put people on the spot of like, what did you draw? But it offers an invitation to participate, which I think just helps with the participation levels.
Okay, so I know you wanted to share something else, but we have a couple of
Yeah,
questions. So
yeah, no,
let's just
this is open-ended. So yeah.
okay.
Kathy, did you want
First
to?
of all, Nora, do we answer
Oh,
your question?
Yep, thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Um, uh, 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 Kathy, you raised your hand, right?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so while we were discussing, I drew my little picture and then I pushed the done, thinking
Yeah.
I was done. And
Mhm.
it still stayed on the screen. And so I touched the screen by accident and more things happened. And I touched the screen again and more things happened, which kind of messed up my picture. What does the done mean?
Huh. The done should have taken you to the next page, and then you would have seen it. And then yeah, this is what it basically should have showed you. Um,
Okay.
yeah, with like a little download button and then a draw again and
So
all of
maybe
that.
I'm having some kind of little processing in the building that I'm in, some interference or something, because I was like, daggone it, I didn't want that yellow thing on there, but because I'm touching my screen, it continues. All
Is this yours,
righty.
Kathy?
Yes.
All right. The little yellow right there. Yeah.
Yeah, all of the yellow that's
Click
on
on
there
the
was.
undo
It looks
button.
like Wendy said she had some issues as well.
Okay.
Okay,
We're getting
so we can look
try
into
some
that.
eyes.
But Josh is asking, can you link pictures? Picture
Here,
question?
let me clarify that. It didn't
Yeah,
type
please.
well. So, like, if there's another question after this, which I suspect there is,
Mhm.
yeah, I know you said they're not labeled, but would you know that, like, is there some way to, so it seems like they pop up in the order that people make them.
Yeah.
So if it's a different order on the next question, do you get any consistency person to person to know, like, hey, this was person one who did this drawing both times, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So it's possible with like IP addresses and kind of seeing where the drawings came from, but we still like would need to ask the name of people to kind of identify it. But how do you see using that, Josh? I'm
I'm not
curious.
sure. I didn't know, like if you're I don't have an answer to that. I'm just trying to, since you said there you can't track it, I was just kind of curious if there's like continuity question to question or not. But it's more curiosity. I didn't mean to sidetrack from
Yeah.
stuff.
No, and it's absolutely possible. And that's one of the things like we certainly can build that in. If it is something like you're going to be using this through a lot of trainings and then you want people kind of building up their own personal portfolios or be able to track and see kind of what they're doing.
Yeah, or
So
like a
it's
final
absolutely,
gallery or that kind of thing.
yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times we'll also take all of the responses and it's not like kind of giving everyone their own individual, hey, here's what you just did, but we will make a group kind of collective artifact or image. In this case, yeah, it was well, we can also grab all of the drawing paths, but sometimes we'll make data visualizations to understand the group sentiment or ideas. You can also limit the color palette people have to kind of inform yes, no, maybe, or just limit and constrain people for greater creativity. Um,
Are those
but
things that you're showing right now, are those things that you're able to make with the data after the fact, like you, Chris, or the user, the Pickles can let you do that if you have this account?
yeah, so some of these are like within, like everyone can download all of their drawings. They're yours. They're automatically saved forever. So you'll be able to use
You
these.
mean
Like this
the
one. Yeah.
facilitator?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah. And so for this one, I used a platform called Shape Collage. In some cases, I'll use Canva. And we actually are incorporating AI. I got to be honest, it doesn't work super well because we are using all sorts of colors, and most of the AI models are all black and white drawings. And so using colors, it's a little bit hard for it to understand, but we are seeing how we can kind of automate the analysis of all of these responses to in real time deliver insights into group sentiment, into preference, and just kind of have a more dynamic experience where you almost have AI helping to understand the sentiment and ideas of the group.
Got it. Nora's asked, is there an erase option or do you just have to draw again?
Yeah, so there's a little undo button in the top left corner. of the drawing canvas, which you can use. We also will put white as a color often, which can be used as an eraser. And then as a trainer, you're also able to moderate drawings and remove anything that you might not want, which is kind of your control to erase things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. James, you had a question. Instead of my reading it, can you share that with us? Or I guess
I was just responding to Josh's idea of being able to track one person's drawings. If you were looking for a trend over time, then you could see how one person kind of changed throughout the course or something like that. So it was just Chris had asked, "Hey, where do you see that being used?" And I thought of something.
gotcha.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
another thing, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, but could you, if you wanted a completely different set of drawings, I assume you would just relaunch the program and have folks scan a second QR code.
So that's actually, you don't have to scan a second QR code. I'll go back to the first one that I made where we now see a much more detailed Philadelphia Eagles drawing here. But you just need to hit this little arrow button in the bottom left corner,
Uh-huh.
and that gets you to the next activity. Now, it doesn't automatically pull everyone, but if you're on your phone and you hit done and draw again right now that I've advanced activities, it will change the prompt at the top. I can also change the colors to be different. Now, if you're already in there, it's only going to update kind of when you hit done and draw again. But yeah, that's kind of how it'll work. So you can scan this QR code again, and it will take you now to this question. And so, yeah, you can use these arrows to navigate forward and back and create however many questions that you would like. In this case, if the training industry were an animal, which one would it be? And I see some people are already jumping in there. I believe we've got the makings of a fox coming in. Big bushy tail. So these are some that like it almost needs an explanation because we use pickles a lot for like symbology, metaphor, feelings, thoughts, ideas, the expression of all of these and kind of getting them into this shared space that the group can then all see how each other are feeling and have a conversation about it. Yeah, or just see similarities, potential differences, because man, it seems like there's no consistency around like well, maybe like two giraffes might have been showing up. This is like a what is the name of that dinosaur?
T-Rex?
Someone's got
No, Brachiosaurus,
Run.
maybe?
Brachiosaurus.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
that's the one, I think. Brachiosaurus, cool. Yeah, maybe a couple cats. That could be some
Interesting. Okay,
consistency.
so let me just look and see if we have any other questions here. Or
Yeah.
feel free to folks to just unmute yourself. See, we answered that.
Lions, elephants, fish, Bronchiosaurus.
I have a question.
I'd like to know the explanation of what the person felt how the dinosaur fit in the animal of the training industry.
Hmm.
That's
I would love to
interesting
know that. Yeah.
if they'd like to share.
Does anyone want to claim their Brachiosaurus and come off mute? Because if you don't, it's fine. It just means that Kathy and I can hypothesize as long as we want because I think the training industry is long. It's one of the longest professions that will always need to be training and teaching people. And this is one of the longest dinosaurs known to man.
So it could also be, someone who's you have to stick your neck out. You have to try new things. Is something
Ooh.
that I could pull from that. I could also see people saying that it's dated and we need to try some new things.
Hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
That's what
so
I
that
thought.
could, yeah.
Yeah.
So but you're asking the question, Kathy, actually is a really nice model of all of the different ways that we can use this tool in training, right? So either maybe people will kind of choose their drawing or not. And but it still offers an ability for people to chat about it. One thing I noticed is that it shares your drawing even if you're in the middle of it. I think even if you're not done, which is interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I feel like it's okay. Like if you just sort of know that that's it. Um, Josh has just shared that he was able to undo his terrible drawing on his phone. Okay. Um,
Yeah, that was a feature
click
we
the
were
back
really
arrow. Yep.
reluctant to do because the goal was not to obsess over like, yeah, kind of like fight this whole like good versus bad, terrible, like they're all going to be terrible. And I love ugly drawings and I want them to exist in the world. I just want more of them instead of like having them be there and then undo, 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 and then appear and then undo, undo, undo. So yeah, that feature alone was one that I was like really torn about building in at all because the goal was just like
Embrace our
ungrab.
ugly drawings.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Get it out. Let it exist in the world. Like you gotta have ugly drawings if you're ever gonna make a non-ugly drawing. But um
Well, and as Janet just said, the worse they are, the more memorable they are. But
yeah.
I think also like, okay, so we may not know if our dinosaur, our Bronchiosaurus is that or a giraffe, but we can have a conversation about that also. And like I think it was Kathy, like there are so many people who I want to say, so what is this drawing about? That brown bear was me, actually.
That was
I
you? I
feel
was
like
gonna
things are a
like that was
little
a band.
sleepy right now, and I'm trying to figure out like when things are gonna pop up again post holidays. That was the spirit of my bear.
I love that.
Talk about bad drawings.
Yeah. No, but it's beautiful, and I thank you for the explanation as well.
I also note that we all use kind of muted colors too. Nobody used these bright, vivid colors in
mm,
their drawings that I see.
Okay, so
yeah,
I think Chris adjusted the palette. Will you show us again how you did that,
Oh,
Chris?
okay.
yeah. So I can show you kind of quickly to create activities. It's pretty simple. Um, you can come in here and then how are you feeling? So the whole idea is like creativity is easier with constraints. So there's a prompt that gets you going. We can also remove a lot of the colors that we let people draw with.
Hmm.
Or you can have random color palettes generated that you can let people draw with as well. And then you
Hmm.
just hit add to stack. And so I've just made the third question that if I wanted to jump to, I just hit next button, and now we have how are you feeling? Everyone can hit done, and yeah, you obviously don't need to. That was just an example, but yeah, so it might be because this is the color palette that I gave everyone. Um, that's kind of why they're all on theme in that way.
Excellent. Sarah, I appreciate that we're at the end of the hour, and I want to take a moment to say thank you to Chris. Um, we'll stay on for a little bit, but we did put this tool onto the Trainers Warehouse website so that you can purchase it there. You know, you could also just buy it online directly from Chris, of course. We do have the same price on our website as what he offers online. So, hopefully if you found it through us, you know, you go through that route. But thank you. I do love this tool, and I'm glad we had an opportunity for you to share it with us.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you.
I love the comments in the chat, James. Does this mean that many of us feel like we're trying to get a cat to do what we want? Yeah, that's that's a great comment. And yeah, I also put my email address, chris@pickles.com. So if I can help out, if you want to talk more or get a walkthrough from me, would love to stay connected and help out however I can. But yeah, thank you for having me. This was a blast. I know you probably didn't come in here
Thanks.
expecting to draw cats and animals and faces, but you guys did great. So thank you for jumping in.
Thank you. So, okay, demo over. I would like to ask you if you can go back to that image about like the training industry and the pictures. And I'm curious to kind of dig in further and have conversations about what some people drew and why they drew it and chat more about that. I don't know if folks have more time and are interested to actually use the tool to learn from each other and talk about that or not. If I appreciate if you need to log off, but for those who may want to stick around, I saw someone said, I want to know about the cat. I want to know about other things. So folks, let's just kind of unmute ourselves for anyone interested. And, I love that these show and share conversations give us an opportunity to chat like this. So yeah, let's talk to each other.
Yeah. It looks like we've got two owls as well. So I wonder if anyone on Team Owl would like to share. Because there might be some similarities there. But yeah.
I was one of the owls, and I think I was thinking from the standpoint of obviously our job is to impart knowledge in the training industry, and hopefully that creates wisdom overall.
Love that.
Nice. I love
I
it.
was the other owl, and I feel similarly. You're trying to pass on some advice and guidance towards the people that you're training.
Nice. Yeah,
Well,
share the wisdom.
I truly am not a person that has ever been able to draw. I have very limited vision, but the cool thing about this is, on my screens, I can make these pictures very large. And so I was wondering if there was a way to up-like somebody's drawing. And also too, when we're talking about animals, one of the things I say quite frequently in training is I would draw an elephant if I could draw, because there it is. Yes.
Is that your elephant?
No, I can't draw that. No,
okay.
But I would love to up like it and say, yeah. So, when we have learners that are overwhelmed, I often say, well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so, I love having that visual. So, yeah.
And I'm always saying there's always an elephant in the room. There's always some issue going on, some mandate, something people come in the room pissed off about. And we might as well address it because we can't walk around that elephant.
Yeah. Takes up a lot of space for sure.
Yeah.
So is there also, oh, I'm sorry, Wendy, were you going to ask something?
I did ask if you could up like the critters.
Yeah. And so to answer that, it's certainly possible. We don't have that right now. One of the things that I will sometimes do is change it to asynchronous mode. And so if you're not all live together, but you wanted to send this out as homework, as pre-work, or I even have like a daily drawing community that I send that out to, I'll change that to asynchronous. And not only does that let you move through all of the different questions on your own pace, but it also on your phone or whatever device you're drawing with, after you respond, you get to see all of the other responses, kind of like an Instagram feed that you can scroll through to see how people did. And so it's certainly something that we could kind of build into it to, as you're seeing everyone else's responses on your device, to be able to like or comment or perhaps even like build onto it. So you can maybe add a ear to the elephant and iterate on it a bit.
Did you
So
say that's available now or something you might build into that program?
yeah, I think it's something that we're going to build in to like have more of that social interaction. Because yeah, I guess two words that I keep coming back to is creativity and connection. And it's really just kind of using creativity to open people up to connection and conversation. And so I think that like just further forms of interaction with each other can only help the experience.
Another idea that I had is, I'm kind of thinking about the people who can't draw. And when I was first introduced to Pickles, it was at a local ATD event, and they played this, and I don't remember. I kind of feel like the facilitator picked out a drawing and like gave a prize to someone who, whatever that drawing was. And I was just thinking in the way that we want to encourage, mistakes and vulnerability and growth mindset, and you don't have to be good at all of this. I could imagine giving a, a thank you, a kudo, an award, a raffle ticket, or whatever, however you inspire participation to the worst drawing you see. Someone who, you know, kind of took the bold move to share something that they were probably pretty uncomfortable to share. And I also think that modeling, you see everybody's drawings, and most of them, no offense to all of us, are pretty, none of them are good. I was going to say they're all pretty crappy. That's so negative. They're all just an attempt to just share something creative with, that we've drawn with our finger. And that also kind of lowers the threshold. But I was just thinking about ways to encourage even folks who, aren't comfortable with their lack of drawing abilities to share. So
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I love that. And I've seen some trainers go through and like all the questions they have, they'll do their own responses so that there's like something there when they get to the question, and they're also demonstrating that they're not this amazing artist
It
because
lowers the
yeah,
threshold.
yeah, and that's another reason why having them all appear in real time kind of helps as well, because someone might be there paralyzed, like, oh my God, I'm now forced to share my creativity with the world. And then they can look at the screen and be like, oh, well, I can, I can beat them. Come on. And then it's like a little bit of competition that kind of comes in because, I mean, we'll get the feedback from like a lawyer who's used to being paid $600 for talking really well. Like, oh, now you want me to draw? Like, I'm on the level of a 6-year-old now. And that can be challenging the identity of some of these people. And so the more to like bring down, and it is kind of an equalizer, which can help in some of these group conversations. So you don't just have the highest paid person talking. And you invite a lot of different voices. But yeah, I think that was like demonstrating that I love that idea, Sue, of like giving it to the worst drawing. Or one of the things that I found is like the best drawings are the people who just keep adding details for longer. Like I love the Tasmanian tiger, the devil that someone did, because it like started out as just the face, and then they drew the body, and then you see the little swirls coming, and then they got the title. And so it really, I found, is like it's just about kind of staying with something and not being afraid of like, oh my God, I suck, I'm gonna drop it and leave it and run away. But
And we probably shouldn't say that the worst drawing, but the most simple. And as Angela says, creativity is in the eye of the beholder, and art is all over the place. So
yeah,
there shouldn't be any judgment, I should say.
but it's so hard. It's hard.
Nana has added some phrasing that's less judgmental.
Right. Yes.
Best attempt, best starting point, as opposed to the worst drawing.
Exactly. Can I just like erase that and bringing it back?
To be called yeah, yeah. I like best attempt, best starting point. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to stop judging. Like we as humans are just always judging everything around us. Is this good? Is this bad? Does this
Including
help me?
ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, if we can help people get past that, like, yeah, every idea is ugly when it starts off. Every drawing might be ugly at the beginning, but then you work with it and you build with it. And I think just being comfortable in that ugly uncertainty, that's like a huge skill to have nowadays, especially.
Great. I had just one other question, and I don't know if the person who drew what looked to me like a turkey is still on the line, but I was curious about that drawing as well.
Do we have the turkey? This turkey?
Or it could be a turkey, could be a peacock, I guess.
Yeah. I was thinking turkey when I saw it originally. We've got like the two little eyes. Um, I see
It's a
someone.
peacock.
It's a peacock. All right.
All right.
Not
Nana, do you feel comfortable sharing with us what you were thinking? Audio issues. All right. Understood.
all right.
Well, it's thought-provoking. Anyway, I could probably, add color and interest and dimension and once you kind of learn the outline of something and then you bring it to life, it becomes really colorful.
Does the platform have a trial before you fork over the full fee? Is there a trial period to see how to use the thing and determine whether we want it?
Yeah. Yeah. You can get on there and use it with like smaller kind of group sizes for free.
Mm-hmm.
Just get your
I was thinking about some of the live upcoming retreats I have, and there's so many products on Trainer's Warehouse. And sometimes I get confused to make a different, an investment on a product without really knowing it. There's usually a couple reviews for each product, but I guess I was thinking recently and looking at all the great stuff that it would be great to like talk to someone from Trainer's Warehouse to be like, oh yeah, I've gotten a lot of great feedback on this one for an analytical group, or this is good, and you list the kinds of
Yeah.
products that are good for different groups, but it's still nice to, there's a
Yeah,
lot of choices.
I'd be happy to talk to you, but I also have one of the folks on our team, Carol, is really good at that to kind of go shopping with you essentially and kind
Oh,
of talk
awesome.
you through some of the different options and what she sees people buying really frequently, how they're used and so forth. So if you
That would be wonderful. Yeah.
give us a call and it's 800
Oh,
299 3770. It's on our website, but yeah, give us
okay.
a call. We're happy to help out with that.
Thank you so
Um,
much. Yeah, I'll
of course.
definitely your call. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
for
Thank
sure. Um, any other comments or questions? This was so fun, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very cool.